Brooke Shields has long been a familiar face in Hollywood, a child star turned fashion icon, and, more recently, a respected actress and author. But her new memoir, Brooke Shields Is Not Allowed to Get Old, isn't just another celebrity biography filled with anecdotes about her career and fame. No, this book digs deeper. It's a reflection on the struggle of aging as a woman, and how, as someone who grew up in the public eye, she learned to navigate the often toxic waters of beauty standards and personal autonomy. For years, Brooke has been under intense scrutiny, her body objectified, her life dissected by the media. But one particularly harrowing and deeply personal chapter of her life, which she's only just now choosing to share, involves a betrayal so profound that it'll make your stomach churn. In her memoir, Shields opens up about an experience she had with a medical procedure that went horribly wrong, a vaginal rejuvenation surgery she didn't ask for, didn't want, and wasn't even informed about until after the fact.
Literally looked at me and said, it tightened up a bit.
What's more disturbing, the doctor responsible didn't just perform this procedure without her consent, but proudly referred to it as a bonus, as if it were some kind of treat rather than a major medical intervention on her intimate body parts. At 59, Shields has lived her life in the spotlight, facing public judgment since she was a child. From posing nude at the age of 12 in the controversial Pretty Baby to becoming a symbol of purity and virginity during her teenage years, she's had her body, her choices, and her image dissected by the world. But in her memoir, she makes it clear that her journey has been one of reclaiming her autonomy, especially when it comes to her body. The incident occurred years ago when Shields, then in her 40s, sought a medical solution for something many women quietly deal with: discomfort in their intimate area. Labiaplasty, a procedure that reduces the size of the labia, was recommended by her gynecologist to relieve her discomfort from years of chafing and irritation. The surgery seemed simple enough, a way to improve her quality of life without it being a major alteration to her body. But when Shields woke up from the anesthesia, she was faced with a reality far worse than she could ever imagine. Not only had the doctor performed the labiaplasty, but he had also decided, without her consent, to perform an additional procedure: vaginal rejuvenation. This is a surgical intervention that tightens the vaginal walls, often marketed as a way to restore youth or improve intimacy. It was an invasive procedure that Shields had never agreed to. To add insult to injury, this doctor, as if casually tossing in a bonus, informed her after the fact that he had also given her a younger vagina. Shields was left in shock, feeling completely violated. It was as though her body was once again being objectified, controlled, and treated as something to be fixed, even though there was no issue she had asked to be fixed. The emotional betrayal felt even more profound considering the context. This was happening to a woman who had been objectified her entire life by the media and the public. It felt like such an invasion, such a bizarre, rape of some kind. Shields writes in her memoir, her words are raw, her pain palpable as she recounts the shock of being altered without her consent. It wasn't just about the surgery itself, it was about the lack of respect for her autonomy. This was her body, and yet someone else had decided what was best for her without her say. For months, Shields kept this information to herself. She didn't tell her husband, Chris Henchy, and she certainly didn't make a public statement about it. Part of her didn't want to open herself up to the kind of scrutiny that she had faced before. After all, her body had already been a topic of conversation for decades. Her public image had always been tied to her physical appearance, whether it was her role in Pretty Baby or the constant discussion about her virginity. But this was different. It wasn't just about looks, it was about control. I think I wasn't strong enough, she says in an interview, reflecting on why she didn't take legal action. I didn't feel secure enough in my career for it to yet again be about my anatomy. In a world that was already obsessed with her body, she felt the weight of privacy invasion yet again. She kept quiet, not out of fear for her career per se, but because speaking out meant bringing attention to something so personal and painful. Attention she wasn't sure she could handle. After all, her body had already been the subject of too much public discussion. But now she's speaking out, not for herself, but for other women who might find themselves in similar situations. Her memoir is a battle cry for autonomy, for the right to say no to unsolicited medical procedures, and to remind the world that women have the right to control their own bodies. It's a plea to take women's healthcare seriously, especially when it comes to sensitive, intimate issues. Shield's story is not an isolated incident. In fact, it sheds light on a much larger issue: how women's bodies are often treated as public property, subjected to the whims of others. Whether it's societal beauty standards, media objectification, or even medical interventions, women's autonomy has long been undermined in various spheres of society. This issue is not just about physical discomfort or cosmetic procedures, it's about agency. Women are often faced with decisions about their bodies that are made for them by others: doctors, media, even family members. And for years, these decisions have been made without informed consent, without respecting a woman's right to choose what happens to her body. In a world where women are constantly told how they should look, feel, and behave, Shields' experience is a painful reminder of the deeply ingrained cultural attitudes that dictate women's worth. Her vulnerability in sharing this story is not just for shock value, it's an invitation to reconsider how we talk about women's bodies, how we treat them, and how we can empower women to take control of their own health care. By sharing this deeply personal story, Shields hopes to encourage other women to speak up about their experiences, whether they've had similar surgeries or have faced other medical issues that were handled without their input. Her message is loud and clear: no one should have the power to make decisions about your body without your consent. While the medical industry and society at large still have a long way to go in terms of empowering women in healthcare, Shields' transparency is a crucial step toward change. In the future, perhaps women will no longer feel pressured to stay silent, to hide their struggles, or to accept decisions made for them. The memoir also touches on the broader issue of aging. As a woman who has spent her entire life in front of the camera, Shields reflects on how aging in the public eye has shaped her perception of herself. Instead of feeling pressured to age gracefully in the traditional sense, she advocates for acceptance, kindness toward oneself, and the courage to face reality head on. Aging is not a graceful process, Shields asserts, but grace comes from giving yourself acceptance. Shields has always been a woman of strength, and now, at 59, she's not just reclaiming her body, but also her voice. She's not afraid to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable because, as she notes, that's the only way to change the narrative. Women deserve respect, and their voices deserve to be heard, especially when it comes to their bodies. Shields' memoir is much more than just a Hollywood tell-all. It's a cultural reckoning. It challenges us to rethink the way we view women's bodies, how we approach women's health, and how we empower women to make decisions about their own lives. In a time when autonomy over our bodies is increasingly under attack, Shields' bold decision to speak out should inspire us all to stand up for ourselves and others. So let's talk about it. Have you ever had a similar experience where you felt violated by a medical professional or society at large? How do you think we can change the way women's bodies are treated in the medical field? Let's start a conversation in the comments and share our thoughts. Women's voices matter, and it's time we start listening and acting accordingly. And hey, don't just rush off to subscribe. Engage, discuss, and share your experiences with others. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's build a movement where women's bodies are theirs and theirs alone, with no one else making decisions for them. Your story matters too.